Did you know that even though there are tens of thousands of words in the English language, you really only need about 3,000 of them to say anything you need to say? I'm teaching 3,000 words in 3,000 days. Stick with me and you'll get a new word every day. Cheap. Cheap has several meanings and they are mostly negative. The only time I think cheap is a positive meaning is when it means inexpensive. I personally like to pay less money for things, so I say, yeah, and I got it cheap. That means that I didn't pay a lot of money. It was cheap, and that's a positive connotation. However, all of the other meanings for the word cheap, besides inexpensive, are negative connotations. So some of the other synonyms for the word cheap, so as we said, inexpensive, that's a positive, neutral to positive. Cheap is, I'm kind of excited about something that's cheap. Terrible, stingy. If you call a person cheap, then that is not a compliment. Lame or easy. She's cheap. That, or she comes cheap. She's easy. You can probably have sex with her without too much work. And that's a very negative connotation. So the inexpensive meaning for cheap is the only one that is not a negative connotation. Some other words for it would be affordable, reasonable, but there are some more negative connotations that also imply inexpensive. For example, chintzy. We often put the word dirt with it. Dirt cheap. Dirt cheap means it is so inexpensive, it's the price of dirt. I bought that car for dirt cheap. Chintzy. Okay, so both of these are pretty negative, dirt cheap and chintzy. Some other synonyms for terrible with that also mean cheap would be inferior, coarse, or common. If you are stingy, you're a cheap person, then it means, so a neutral term for this would be economical, but stingy has a very negative meaning. Miserly, you're not generous. You're selfish or pinching. Lame, another, I don't really like lame as a synonym for cheap. I think that we already covered it, and lame would be confusing. And then we covered the easy meaning of cheap. I found a cheap flight to Paris, so I booked it immediately. Here, cheap is positive. It means low in price. It's commonly collocates with things people buy, like flights, hotels, products. We know that when we pay less, we might get less, and we're okay with it. It was a cheap ticket. I'm going to accept that I don't have any leg room. Cheap can mean poor quality. The shoes looked nice, but they were cheap and fell apart after a week. Cheap can suggest something that is poor quality, not just inexpensive. What do you buy cheap? And what do you buy that's expensive? For example, I love to buy cheap t-shirts. I think it's just fine to spend $5 on a t-shirt. I wear it for a couple of months or years, whatever. I really don't care. It was cheap. But my shoes, I will not buy cheap shoes. I am happy to spend $150 on a pair of shoes because I know they will last me for 10 years. And I plan for them to last me 10 years. I do not want to buy cheap shoes, but I will buy a cheap t-shirt, no problem. He's too cheap to buy his friends drinks, even on his birthday. In this sense, cheap describes the person who's unwilling to spend money. And notice it's paired with the word too. He's too cheap. He's too cheap. Too always indicates that it's going to be a negative feeling, superficial or low grade. The movie was full of cheap thrills, relying on jump scares instead of a good story. Here, cheap conveys something that is low in value or effort, low in taste. It feels cheap. It means that it's poor quality. It can be a satisfying bargain expression. I got a cheap deal on this laptop during the sale. Everybody loves to buy something cheap or cheaper than normal. This is the inexpensive meaning. The opposite of cheap would be expensive. And if something is expensive, it carries with it the connotation that it is of high quality. The noun is cheapness. The verb is cheapen. Don't cheapen my confession by making it into a joke. That's how you would use it. You would that means to devalue. To cheapen something is to devalue it or to make it less important or expensive than it was. To cheapen an experience would be to say, you know what, that wasn't as good as I thought it was. Don't cheapen it. The adjective is cheap and the verb is cheaply. The adverb is cheaply.
I really hope that you enjoyed this word. Use it 5 times today, write it down, commit it to memory, and I'll see you in the next lesson.